Hakadosh Boker or Masechet Bava Metzia Daf Yudal Amud Aleph 114a1. The Gemara is going to start. We're starting on the second line where it starts Ibaye Lehu, where they're going to ask the following question: Ma'u sheyisadru bebalchov? Are they going to be misader bebalchov? What does that mean? Mi gamar micha me'arachim or lo? Do we learn a gzira shava from arachim and to balchov or not? What does that mean? By the concept of halva'a alone, it's written v'chiyamuch. That's the concept of micha, that a person becomes poor. V'yamuch achicha, right? Umata yado imach v'chazakta bo. By Erechin, it also says v'machu me'erkecha. So therefore, just like by over there, they're going to make sure that they keep him the bare minimum to always make sure, and then they come and evaluate and they give it to the Kohen, which means that they're not going to leave him empty completely. He needs his basic necessities, and then they're going to continue. So too by here. The Tashema, we also learned in a Braita. The Shalach Ravin Bagarte. Ravin came and he sent in his Zigeret. I sent this to all the students. I came, I said this to all my rabbis. And he says, they didn't tell me anything. However, though, this was the Sheila. If somebody's going to come and he's going to say that I have a maneh for Bedek Habayit, Maushi Sadru, do they give him first of all his basic necessities and then they'll take everything out, or not? So Rabbi Yaakov Mishmed Barpada Mishmed Amre Kal Vachomer mi Balchov. It's a Kal Vachomer from Balchov. Just like by a Balchov Machzirin, they give back the mashkon to the loveh when he needs it, and Misadrin, and they're not going to come, they're not going to be Misader, whatever's left over for the 30 days. So Hekdesh, that they're not going to give it back, meaning once it's given to the Hekdesh, that's it. For sure, they shouldn't do that then. But Rabbi Yochanan argues. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Neder kerchecha ketiv. What does that mean? It says, Ish kiafli neder berkecha nefashot. Just like Erechim Mesadrin. So to Ekdesh Mesadrin. So he comes out that it's actually a machloket, right? But we do learn from the words of Barpada and Ilfa that they say, Em Mesadrin belchov. Just like Rashbag. The Idach, another Shita, Hahul lenidom bichvodo hudata. There we're going in the entire concept of the kavod of the person, which means, for example, we're going to say that whenever the person comes and he's noder on one of the evarim, it all depends on the chashivut of the eved, of that limb. So, for example, let's say it's the head. The head is the most importance of the body. So if you're going to come and you're going to do it on the head, that's going to give you the most, right, of the value, right? Ma erachin nidom bichvodo. So to ekdesh nidom bichvodo, it's going to go according to the kavod. So says the Gemara, why don't you be misader to balchov and you make it a kavachomen from arachim? If arachim you don't give it back, right? We don't give back the mashkon once you mean a neder, and you are going to be misader. So balchov that you do give it back, right? You took a collateral, you have to give it back. So kavachomen you're going to be misadrin. And so the Gemara, the pasuk says, "Imachu merkecha hu velo balchov." When it says "V'imachu merkecha," which we're talking about there arachim, it's only in the case of arachim, not in the case of balchov. And that's v'idach and other shita. It says no. Hayad sheyeh b'machuto mitchilato. So he says no. When it says machu, it's going from the beginning until the end, which means that we're talking about. But if, let's say, for example, he became rich before the Kohen came and evaluated him, he has to give the full erech. No, he doesn't get a discount anymore. Beforehand, he would get a discount because he was poor. Now he doesn't get a discount anymore. So says the Gemara, "V'yachziru be'ekdesh kal vachomer mibalchov." They should come and give back, right, be'ekdesh, because it's kal vachomer from balchov. Uma balchov shel mesadrin, just like by balchov, they're not going to be mesader machzirin. They give it back. Hekdesh shel mesadrin and odin shel machzirin. So he says, Amakra, the pasuk says, "V'shachav besalmato uverecheka." What does that mean? Yatsa ekdesh she'en tzarich beracha. He says, here it's something different, that the entire pasuk of giving back the mashkon to the ani is because of a beracha. Here you don't need the beracha. Here there's no beracha. So he says, what does that mean? Velo, what do you mean? You see that there's a beracha by Hashem, and that's considered tzorch kavua. So to here, even if it's ekdesh, you should get a beracha from Hashem, and you should give it back to him. But the pasuk says, "Ulcha tiyeh tzedakah." Mi shetzarich tzedakah. He says this is only going to be when a person needs the tzedakah. But, right, he comes and he says this is going to exclude the right, the ekdesh, which does not need tzedakah. Ashkeche Rabba Baravua Eliyahu. They found Rabbi Baravua Eliyahu the Kai bevet hakvarot shelo beKochavim, that he was by the bet hakvarot of a goy. Elmaleh, so he went and he told Eliyahu Navi, Moshe tzedud balchov. Elmaleh gamar micha berachim. Berachim tivi machu mekecha gabechov. It's written yamuch beachicha. So he did do the gzera shava. Kuf Yudalad Amubet 114b. So okay, another question that he asked Eliyahu Navi. Minayin le'arom shelo yitrom. How do we know that a person does not have clothing? If a person does not have any type of clothing, that he should not separate truma to a kohen. So he says, the word davar, right, is also dibur. What does that mean? When you're speaking to Hashem, which is a beracha, right, also, don't have any irva. Elmaleh, he says, lav kohen umor. So what, you're not a kohen? What are you doing in a bet hakvarot? If Eliyahu Navi is a kohen, so why is he in a bet hakvarot? Elmaleh, he says, lo matni more tarot, well, you didn't learn tarot. The Tanya we learned in the Braita, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai Omer, Shimon Bar Yochai says, a kever of a goy does not metameh. You guys are called Atem Kruim Adam. You guys are called Adam. The goyim are not called Adam. So Elmaleh, he comes and he tells Eliyahu Navi, in 4 Sidrei Mishnah, which are Oskim B'Dvarim Enogim B'Zman Hazeh, right? You're right. You know, we can't even learn it properly. You want me to learn 6? Meaning, we're not even able to learn Tarot. Because even the 4 that we have left that has to do with what we learn nowadays, we don't know perfectly. You want us to learn Tarot. Elmaleh, he says, why? Elmaleh dechika liminta. Because I'm so pressured because of Parnasah that I can't learn. So Davre v'ayle legan Eden, Eliyahu took him to Gan Eden, and he said, Pshot glimach, safeh shekol me'ani tarfe. Take off your glima and take from these alim and take them. Safa shakal, so he took them. Kavanafik, when he left, Shamada Kamar, he says, Man ka'achil almeh. Who's eating his world? Keraba baravua. Like Keraba baravua. Which means that was his chelek in olam haba. When he heard that, nafat shadinu, he just threw it off. He didn't want to take it. Afilu achi, and still, atya leglimeh, right, when he brought his glima back, sachat glima recha, the glima got a special like smell from Gan Eden. The zabne betreisar alfe dinare, and he was able to sell it for 12,000 dinarim. And he came and he divided all the money. He gave it to his chatanim, meaning he himself didn't want to actually come and be benefiting from Maaseh Nisim, so he gave it to all his son-in-laws, right? Because he didn't want to benefit from it. Okay. Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in a Braita. It says in the Torah that if he's a poor person, so you can't sleep in his clothing, right? But if he's a nashir, right, you could sleep in. There's no problem. Yeah. So he says, "My God, what does that mean exactly?" Amad of Shashat says of Shashat Achi Kamar. This is what it means to say. He says, if right now the person's an anini, he's not going to sleep with it, right? But it's going to be by you. So therefore, you have to give it to him in the beginning of the nighttime. Hashir, but if he's rich, no, you could sleep with it, meaning that you're not putting it on. That's not what we're talking about. But you could sleep and it's going to be in your hands. There's no problem, meaning nobody obligates you to have that. Okay, meaning to give it back. Tanu Rabbanan, we also learned in the Braita. If you're going to come and you're going to lend to your friend, you're not allowed to take a collateral. But you don't have to give it back. You're going to be over on all these shemot, which is basically Hashem teshivenu lo, lo tishka bavoto, and Adbo Hashem teshivenu lo. So 3 different ones. So says the Gemara, what are we talking about here? So says Rav Sheshat, Tachi Kamar, this is what it means to say. Hamalvet chavero enu rasha lemashkeno, v'mashkeno chayav lachzir lo. If you're going to come and you're going to lend to your friend, you're not obligated, you're not permitted to take a collateral. And if you do, you have to give it back to him. A seifa, it's going on the seifa, right? Which means that if he needed it, so it comes out that he would have needed it, you have to give it back to him. But Rav comes and he says, this is what it means to say. But when one of these words, if you took the mashkon not at the time of the alva'ah, but if you took the mashkon during the time of the alva'ah, you're not obligated to give him back. But you are going to be over on all these names that we said, all these different psukim. You have to give it back and all that, and that's going on the Reisha. Tani Rav Shizbi, Kamed Rava. So was teaching Rav Shizbi in front of Rava. עד בוא השמש תשיבנו לו, זו כסות לילה, this is כסות לילה. Right? השב תשיב לו את העבוד כבוא השמש, זו כסות יום, כסות יום. Elmaleh, he comes and he says, Dimama belel yalamani. Why do I need the daytime for the nighttime? Why do I need it like that? Ksut yom for laila, laila yom. What's going on? Elmaleh, he says, Itzmiyeh. He says, what, should I take it away? Elmaleh, he says, no. Hachi kama, this is what I mean to say. Ad bo shemesh tishivenu lo. When it comes to the sun, you have to give it back to him. Zuksut yom shenitelach o b'laila. You could take the one of the ksut yom, you could take it during the nighttime. Hashet tashilo kavod hashemesh is ksut laila, you have to give it back during the day. Meaning each one you have to give it back at the other time. So when the day finishes, you could take the day one, and then you have to give it back the night one. And then when it becomes night, you could take the night one, and then you have to give him back the day one. Rabbi Yochanan says, Mishkeno mashonto me'al gabe, right? Mishkeno umet. What happens right now if he gives him the mashkon and then he dies? Shonto, you could take it from the children. So the Gemara is going to ask, one second, so why do you give it back? So he said, the Torah told you to give it back. Obviously, you have to give it back. And then we're going to continue tomorrow. Bezat Hashem.